Hey VC, Jeff here. Yes, let's finish this. This is going to be the fourth and final installment in the Raleigh, North Carolina digging trip. The third in the antique store series. So the first one, of course, was just basically covering my trip to the record crate where I met up with Adam, bought some stuff. And then the first and second part of the antique store dealt with the items that I found downstairs. And this third part, I'm going to go ahead and blow through for the things I found upstairs. Real brief, in case you missed those other two videos, my wife and them were going somewhere. We were visiting. They were going somewhere else. They said, we're going to drop you off in town. Raleigh's a bunch of buildings, pretty big town. We're going to drop you off in town. You'll be on foot, no car. And she felt bad. She's like, you're going to be there for 5 or more hours. You're going to be bored. I'm like, I got at least 3 or 4 record stores to find. There's no way I'm going to be bored. So again, I set off to and hit some of the stores, and really the other stores, they were good and they had decent stuff, but because I had found so much at the antique store, I did not buy anything else anywhere else because they were all typical used prices. They weren't as cheap as the stuff I found at the antique store. And again, I went into the antique store. Downstairs, there were probably about 7 or 8 bins of records where I found the bulk of what I bought. Because it was all part of a guy who was selling stuff there on consignment, part of his 10,000, the lady told me 10,000 metal records that he was trying to cut back on. And so I bought most of the stuff from his consignment section. But then I did go upstairs. So, my family had seen upstairs. They're like, oh, there's a bunch up here. So I went up there, and there was just too many to look through at that point. So I went back the next day, and I'm like, I got hours to kill. So I'm gonna go through, because you go up there and there's bins, chest level, right at stomach level, regular record bins. There's stuff under those, and then so there's bins across 3 sides of a room. It's not a huge room, maybe it's about as big as a small bedroom. But then underneath the table, there were those big plastic tubs. There were boxes. There were the old record crate boxes on top of a table. There was a shelf that had about 3 or 4, shelves of records there. So it was a lot to go through. All in all, I went through everything. And then I texted my wife 3 hours later and said, oh, I'm done at the antique store. Yeah, she said, well, we can be there in about 45 minutes. We're done. So I spent most of the time in the antique store. And so all the stuff I found downstairs, I had started that pile, took it upstairs, was starting to flip through the upstairs. I'm telling you right now, most of the things upstairs were in the $3 to $8, $9 range. Usually was about as high as they went. And I could have built an entire record collection up there. I could have bought probably 50 more albums if I wanted, of just classic rock stuff that it wasn't like top of the line crazy stuff, but it was stuff to fill a collection with jazz, John Luke Ponte. There was one Billy Cobham I almost picked up but put away. Some of the things I put away: Missing Persons, Angel, Genesis, early Genesis, mid '80s Genesis. There was just more than I could do with what I was walking away with. I had a stack, which you might have seen in one of the earlier videos. I had a stack of that many records, and I kept whittling through them to try to knock them down. Here's what I found, and here's what I got. Here's what I did buy at a decent price. This one is by far the biggest, in my opinion, biggest score grail of the find. For $6, you're not going to know who it is. I think maybe a half a dozen people will know who it is. I posted a picture on one of the Facebook groups, and somebody pointed it out. Wow. Anyway, Tribal Opera by Ideola. Who the heck is Ideola, and why is that a grail for Jeff? Ideola is the group name for Mark Hurd, and Mark Hurd was a contemporary Christian folk singer in the late 70s and 80s. Not the style of music I usually listen to. 1987, he puts out this little gem. Pop, new wave-ish, upbeat. Lyrically, You know, yeah, you may find spiritual overtones, but not really. It was just kind of it was almost kind of just a straight pop record, totally outside of anything he's done before. And I bought this album back then because I heard it somewhere, saw a video from it, and I just fell in love with the quirkiness of it and bought it. And this album, when it came out on CD, was hard to find. It was, you know, rare. I did end up having a CD, and then I think I ended up selling it years later for probably more than $50 because it was just so hard to find, so hard to buy. I shouldn't have sold the CD. I feel like a fool for doing that. You go through tough times, you sell things. I had the album back in the day in the 80s. That went the way of all the rest of my records. I found a copy of this online the other day for $18, but it was in like no cover or something. It was in bad condition. Most of the copies that I was seeing of this album online now, like on Discogs, are 50 plus, which is surprising. I thought it would be even more than that, or it has been more than that. But you could find them for $50 to $60. I got one for $6 in minty fresh condition. I mean, you know, it's got writing on it, but the album itself, it's got the insert. You can see the insert when somebody sold it at one point. They sold it for 15. I don't know, you know, that was inside the record, but the record itself was 6. Somebody wrote 87 on there, the year of the release. The album itself, though, you know, looks nearly unplayed. So yeah, to me, this got me the most giddy when I saw that, and that was near the very end of my searching. That's persistence. It was on one of the shelves, which, you know, you tend to want to. You start flipping, you're like, oh, I see all kinds of stuff that's the typical thrift store type stuff, and I'm like, am I gonna find it? And then you find that, and you're like, wow, I'm glad I kept looking. Y&T Down for the Count. Now, this was actually one of the records in the consignment guys stuff for $10. I had it in my hand, found it upstairs for less money in just as good a condition. So I took this one for a couple dollars less. One of the few Y&T albums that I didn't have on vinyl, so I had to look it up because I thought I had it, but I didn't. So I grabbed this. This is when they were starting to kind of cross into that little more commercial appeal, but great album in the mid '80s there. And then I was surprised. Earthshaker by Y&T. This one, wow, I don't know. Don't see this one on vinyl that much, but I was glad to find it. One of the A&M releases. Again, great condition. This is around the early '80s era too. I don't think I have this on CD, but I don't think never really, back in the day, never had that on vinyl. Soraya, I knew a little bit about them. I knew they were late '80s. I knew they were borderline metallic. You kind of listen to them, female singer. They've got that late '80s, more than AOR, commercial hard rock. Very good stuff. Very good stuff. So yeah, grab that. I'm like, oh, that's nice. Classic from Triumph, Just a Game. Again, I've been picking up a lot of Triumph albums recently, and this was just one of the first ones I saw. The Triumph album I think they had. I read about more. Again, these are the type of bands that they were filled with up there. I could have just kept buying classic rock. This one I was thrilled about because I have the other Cool Kids Kicks, and when I was back in the day, I had the first 2 Kicks albums. That was all I had, and then I kind of ignored them beyond that. Now I know they later got a little more of that '80s sound, but this is when they were really quirky, and I'm like, yes, I found the other Kicks album that I needed, and so yeah, I grabbed that real quick. And again, all of these were really cheap, so I saw this and I thought, this is early April Wine, 74. Don't know a lot about April Wine back then, but it was in such pristine condition, and it was like under $5. I couldn't leave it there. I debated to leave it there. I took it out of the pile, but then when I was walking out, I put it back in the pile. So they had this, and they had the live album, which was it 174, 175. Again, this is early, like first 2 or 3 album April Wine. I don't think I've ever even really heard this stuff. They had one other April Wine album, and I thought, at first saw it, I'm like, oh, that's cool, and I grabbed it. It was that preview review, though. It was just like a sampler. I'm like, oh, I'm not buying it. Had a couple songs from albums I already had. But yeah, live album. I was like, okay, for the price, I've got to get these. Rainbow, Been Out of Shape. I mean, come on, what more do we say? Joe Lynn Turner, Rainbow Era, great album, great stuff. I just had to go ahead and put that in the pile. That was the only rainbow I found, actually. I mean, there's a lot of rainbow I don't have, and but I'm surprised. That was the only one that I found there. Crocus, Metal Rendezvous. One of the only early crocus. I keep running into it into the, in stores, but they always seem to want more money than I have, or I'm buying more than I want to spend, so I don't buy it. I figured, here it is. It's got a little, a little blah here, but because of that, it was actually marked down a little. It's also got a sticker on it. Looks like it might have been like in a library, or somebody actually coded it. Maybe a records. I don't know. But, the album was in such great condition. I was like, okay, I'm making the purchase. I've already indebted myself to this store so much. Do that. Blackfoot Strikes, $3. It was a classic. It was in great condition. Yeah, I couldn't not pick that up. The only Blackfoot I saw there, though, again, some bands I'm like, I wish they had more of this particular band, but, I'm not going to turn it down for that. And then the next three, actually, my wife wanted, and she picked up, and I don't mind having them, but we got Candy-O by Cars. Again, $3. The cover's in kind of rough shape. The album probably could use a cleaning, but it's, it's got, well, it's not, it's very good with a couple fingerprints. If I were to clean that, it'd be very good plus. It's a classic, The first day I looked, I thought I saw Shake It Up, and I'm pretty sure I did see Shake It Up, but when I went back and looked, for some reason I didn't see it, or I would have put it aside. I don't know. I just glanced at it the first day. And then she wanted this. Now this is Asia, what is this, Alpha? Yeah, Asia Alpha. She said, no, I want that. I'm like, you realize that's not the first Asia album. That's a great album, but it's not the one you think it is, which looks very similar. You're wanting, Heat of the Moment Asia, which is probably the only album by Asia she probably had as a teenager before, life went on. It's the only one I think I ever had. And she says, I don't care, I want it. And I'm like, well, that's fine, because I want it too. I'll take some Asia Alpha. As I dug and dug and dug and dug, I did find the first one. So I said, look, I got you the first album too. So I say I got it for her. That just means she's giving me permission to buy albums that she'll probably like to listen to, but will never come to my room to listen to. But it's, she approves of these. And so, yeah, okay, I'm going to get these. And again, both of them were like, I don't know, $3 or $4. This one, the insert is really shredded, but that's okay. I mean, it's there. It's just it's falling apart. That's it, though. That's it. All in all, big stack of records. And if I were to go back, I probably there's so many things I left behind. So many things. I think I got the bulk of what I could do at that time and justify, doing it. On vacation, the way I justify it is I'm like, look, I'm now back active in a music band. We are playing practically at least once every week, it seems like. It seems like I haven't had a week off aside from going out of town. I'm like, what? I told my wife, the good thing about that I'm looking forward to about going out of town? I don't have a gig this weekend. Not that I don't, look forward to it. It's just weird. It's like, I got a gig Saturday. I've got a gig next Saturday. I've got a gig the next Saturday. So, I'm making the extra money. I make, at least $100 a pop. So, hey, I'm buying some records. Anyway, that's all. That is all for my Raleigh, North Carolina trip. And if I could go back, I probably could come back with quite a bit of albums also. It was a great stuff there. Great stuff. Anyway, that's all for now. I do have a few things that have come in the mail since I started this little trip down Raleigh. But I'll show there's another video. So, thanks a lot for watching. I'll be back. Rock on and rock hard.